So I'm back at the ye old faithful spot. You know, the one I always go to where I find Titanites. Just been picking some small ones, partial ones. And then I just saw this guy sticking here. You can see the lustrousness on him. Let's see, how is he? Oh, there goes one of the pieces I put down. Not bad. It's just actually, I mean, it's still broken off the base, but that is a partial Titanite crystal. I haven't even moved from my spot, and I found this Titanite. I found one of these before in this variation. It's actually, well, I think it's actually it's three Titanite crystals that have grown elongated but have stacked on top of each other, and then their faces have all ended at the same time. Or I think that's three. Looks like three. No, it's two Titanite crystals. And I found one before, just a chunky bit, not even on matrix. This is a matrix piece. You can see it's on the feldspar. And I was so confused what it was because it wasn't the classic Titanite shape. And then eventually I found one picture online of a specimen similar to mine. So I knew it was Titanite because it had the luster and it had the density to it, but it just didn't have that classic wedge shape that you expect from a Titanite. But I found a second one, and it was in the same spot. My first one, I found just down there. It was in a discard pile. I had kind of just pushed the discard pile out of the way because I had been adding to it. And then out popped this, I just saw this super shiny face, and I was like, that looks like Titanite. And then when I picked it up, it was it was not the classic Titanite shape. And I was super confused. And now I found a second one of it. And it actually shows it pretty well because that top Titanite, you can see it hasn't fully grown like the second Titanite. And so you can actually see how they stack on top of each other. And yet their faces, their end faces are just perfectly aligned, so it just looks like one single face. But you can actually see there is a partition between the two wedges, which is really cool. I wasn't expecting to find one of these. I've been having some pretty good luck finding Titanite. I found that one over there. There's a cluster of 4 small ones. I found a tabby one. I actually found a couple more of the squat ones that I've been talking about, which was weird. Found some amphibole as well that I might take. It's a feldspar that seems to have some Titanites on it. But I just spotted, give me a second, I gotta put these away in my pocket. I've just been looking through the discard piles, and I've just been finding all those Titanites. And I just spotted this sheen. You see that sheen? Look at that. That's a cluster of Titanites. Nice cluster. And I mean, that big crystal might have some damage to it, but altogether, this looks like a pretty whole cluster of Titanites. But yeah, that's what I've been doing. I've just been looking for like the sheen, basically, the really lustrous sheen. And after a good rainfall, you know, the rain washes all the discard piles, and sure enough, those Titanites pop out pretty quickly if you know where to look. Let's see if we can see any right now. I mean, there's a bit of a appetite. It's nothing crazy. That might be something up there. Oh yeah, see? Right there where my thumb is. It does not want to focus. You can see that sheen. And that's just the Titanite sheen. And you're just looking for that. And it's funny because I'm pretty sure this discard pile is my friend's discard pile from the last time I was here. So he discarded some pretty nice Titanites for me to find. think I see another one in here. Oh, it fell down. Man down, man down. This is it. Nope. Shoot. I saw it fall here. Where did it go? Oh no! I lost it. Okay, I'll try and find it again. But if I find anything else super cool, I will definitely show you guys. I'm just like slowly moving my way up, going from spot to spot where people have dug recently. And I'm just finding lots of stuff. Lots of small stuff that cluster on the side that's just amphibole. But then there are some decent chunky bits. That's a pretty nice cluster actually, that bottom one. And then the top one, that's just a chunky bit of a larger crystal. Some good faces on it, so I'll probably take that. But I'm hoping that cluster will look nice once it's cleaned up, because it's covered in that kind of like really rusty stuff. So here's to hoping. But there, you can see there's still lots, and I'm sure I'm missing a bunch, because I'm just like sitting down, parking my ass, and just kind of looking, combing over once, twice, 3 times, and just taking my time with each spot. And I'm sure I'm still missing stuff. Like that cluster that I showed you, that was just sitting right here, and I looked at that spot probably 10 times already, and like on the 10th time or the 11th time I actually saw the cluster. So you just got to be careful when looking. I do want to try to do some digging. It's just I'm trying to recoup my energy, because I spent a lot of it bashing off plates of amphibole off of a rock, which was stupid of me, because my goal was to come here and dig for apatite. But you know, when you find something interesting that you want to take home, you kind of get sidetracked, and that's what happened with me. So I'm just taking my time right now, just picking over, and then later on I'll probably find a spot. There's a spot nearby that I think might have some good apatite, hopefully. But for now I'm just kind of recouping and just picking and looking for Titanite. I found even more Titanite, including this big busted piece. But I went back to a spot I'd already gone over, and I just saw this. It kind of flicked off the stuff. I didn't pull it out, because when I saw that it was a pretty decent sized, most just the backs where it would have been attached to the matrix is missing. That's a pretty nice Titanite. Decent size. Good luster. Probably a bit of damage around the edges by the looks of it, but altogether pretty good. There's sounds like there's, yeah, you can hear it. There's a bit of thunder in the distance. I'm hoping that I don't get rained out, because that would be a shame. Looks like I got rained out, and we're actually getting some hail, so I think it's my time to get out of here. But yeah, that's the end of it for me. See you guys, I'll let you guys see the cleanup after this. Here are some of the best Titanites from the trip. I've actually split the video into 2. I had gone to another section that had been more recently exposed by loggers, and so that video will be coming out later on. It will be basically, there will be 2 parts to this trip, 2 videos, and in this video I am just showing you a section I've been to before in the regular area where I found Titanites before, had good luck with Titanites, and this trip I also had some really good luck. Found some really good specimens, some of the better ones I found at Titanite Hill. So I am quite happy with these finds, and I just want to show you them because I think they're quite cool. We'll start off with the ones at the front. This was one of the flatter, smaller ones I found, but it's actually 4 separate crystals clustered together, so it's a quadruplet cluster. Or it's, yeah, I think it's, yeah, you can see that's one, that's a bigger one, but on this side it looks like it's one single crystal and it's just fused together. Or it could be a single crystal and it's just grown funky on the back, but at least it has these 2 separate crystals. You can see they're separate. But it's a fascinating little, I called it a ninja star, a Titanite ninja star. And it's a fascinating little specimen. Great luster, good color to it. It's got that dark toffee brown. It's hard to tell right now, but like if you hold it up to light, it's very, you can see the light shine through and you can see kind of like the dark toffee brown color. So it's quite gemmy. Here's another, what we call like the flat tabby kind of Titanite crystals. This one's pretty damaged, but you can see some of the Titanites grow super flat. This one that is almost completely whole actually. It's a weird smushed flat Titanite. It's just a bit busted on the back. But you can see both the sides are properly formed. Then we get into kind of like the, well, I guess we'll do this one. This was one of the nicest clusters I found of Titanite. It's got a really flat kind of tabby crystal on top, a large tabby crystal, and then it's got a whole bunch of clusters of smaller kind of tabby crystals. And you can see they're kind of like flat and then elongated a bit, or some of them are. And interestingly enough, these tabby crystals, if they grow on top of each other, they form this really interesting shape, and I will show you that. But we'll just quickly take one more look at this lovely cluster. Just a bit of damage on this large one, but altogether quite intact, quite lovely. It seems this is where the matrix would have attached. So none of the large crystals have damage from breaking off on the matrix. It seems it's some of the smaller ones that the large crystals have grown onto. But you can see it's just a very lovely, aesthetically pleasing cluster of Titanites. Now back to the tabby crystals. So these tabby crystals, if they grow on top of each other, in this case, you got 2 tabby crystals. You can actually just see that faint line. That's the delineation between the 2, and might actually be 3, because you can see there's another delineation there. So there's one here, and then this large one underneath. Actually, yeah, you can see it. So there's a smaller tabby crystal here, but the 2 main ones are this one and then the one on top, and you can see that faint line that's kind of cutting through it. That's the delineation of the Titanite. But so if they grow on top of each other flat, then you get this really like long column like Titanite crystal. And I'd found one of those before, and I was a bit confused about it because it felt like a Titanite. It looked like it had the same luster and density as a Titanite, but it was just not the regular crystal shape that I was used to. And then I did some digging and I found it was uncommon, but you could get that kind of formation. And then sure enough, in the same area a year later, I found the same kind of thing occurred again. Or maybe it's been 2 years, I forget. But actually, in fact, I'll just quickly show you guys that Titanite so that you guys can see what I'm talking about. Here it is. As you can see, it's the same kind of more tabby, long column-ish shape instead of like the classic shovel kind of wedge shape that you expect. And that's because this is actually multiple Titanites, tabby Titanites kind of grown together. You can see it has the same luster. I can tell you it's definitely a heavy piece. You can even see on the back where they're have been smaller Titanites that have grown onto it. And ones on the front too, around here. And it's just a very interesting piece. And it's cool to be able to find other similar ones. This was another one where you can see it's got the luster and everything. And it's got some smaller Titanites on there. But it's kind of flat, it's squat and kind of tabby. And that's because it's just a bunch of the skinnier, kind of tabby, the flat Titanite crystals growing on top of each other in a way that it makes it look like kind of like a thicker tabby piece. But that, I would say that's quite cool. Here are some of the larger pieces. This one you can see it's been started to degrade because of the iron in the area. Say that almost looks like limonite staining, but you can see here's that classic wedge shape. And this is actually, I believe, a cleavage plane, so the crystal face cleaved at one point. So that's actually cleaved crystal, if you're wondering what a proper cleavage on a Titanite looks like. And then this is just a big chunk piece that also, I believe this is a cleavage plane, because you can kind of see there's a difference in the luster. This is the outside of the crystal, and this doesn't have that same luster. But you can see this is at least a pretty decent sized chunk with some interesting crystal formation. Like this isn't damaged. This is just how it formed. And it's just a bit funky, but pretty cool nonetheless. Then here's one that's kind of a mix of like tabbies that have kind of grown column-ish plus just regular ones, and it's just a huge kind of like nice chunky cluster on what would be a feldspar matrix. This material is the feldspar. And you can see it's another quite lovely cluster. Then last but definitely not least is this lovely intact, just some slight damage here, but basically 99% there crystal. You can see on the back actually where it was attached to something else and it just popped off of the crystal it was attached to. So it didn't break, the piece, this is where it was attached to the matrix, but there's no damage from it popping off of the matrix because it popped off cleanly. So this is one of the most intact larger crystals I have found at Titanite Hill. This front face is pretty good. It's a bit as people would say, I think, what's the term? Like kind of globular. So that the formation isn't super sharp like this face, and this face is a bit sharp, but then it kind of goes melted here. And that's just sometimes what you have with some of the Titanites at Titanite Hill, is that they can kind of get lumpy when they form. But then you'll also have examples like this where they're super sharp, well-defined crystal shapes, and then you got ones that are less defined, and this is just one of those. But this is one of the most intact ones, so I'm quite happy with this find. It was actually found kind of right at the end in an area I'd already kind of searched through, and I just went back to double check, and sure enough I spotted this guy, so I'm quite happy with it. We have gotten to the end of this video. There will be a second part to this collecting trip, so pay attention to that. That'll hopefully come out in a couple weeks or so. But I hope you liked this video. Please do tell me which finds were your favorite finds. I always like seeing what people enjoy. And please just also like and subscribe if you haven't already. I want to thank you guys for watching and supporting my channel. And I'll see you guys in the next video.